The Glover. I think when I was younger, I attempted the guitar, and I just couldn't sit down long enough to actually learn it, properly. So I just kind of put it away. But you know, even have well, I have a TV at my house, but it's not hooked up. And sorry about the issues earlier. AT&T has been having AT&T and
Really?
T and everybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Well, here in Nashville, it's been it just where it's gotten better everywhere else. It's still not quite right here for
Hmm.
some reason. I don't know what the deal is, but I actually went on hotspot on my phone to, you know,
Want to make it
complete
work?
the
Sure.
interview. Yeah. So,
Yeah, because
but
you were glitching in and out here and there, but then yeah, you like dropped off hard like twice right there, real quick.
yeah, and I'm checking on here, and it's like, oh, everything's good. Well, no, it's not. And
Mhm.
then when I went to my phone, did hotspot here, boom, everything works. So I don't know. I don't know.
It's funny what we can look at and complain about now, because it's like, this kind of stuff 5 years ago,
Yeah,
this would
we're,
have been like, something out of Star Trek.
we're
What we're
literally
doing right
spread
now.
all across the country right
Yeah.
now, and all talking at the same time to each other with not really any lag, nothing like that. It's
Yeah.
all pretty good.
You get a little glitch here and there, and it's like, oh my God, there's a little glitch. So Chris, don't worry about it. It was it happens.
Yeah,
Things
that's fair.
happen. We're
Well,
glad to
Okay.
have you.
I'm sorry about that. I wish things would have been better and it would have been a little more
No, that
seamless.
shit
But
happens all the time.
No, it's all good. This part right here is like the post show that we also put up in the audio feed as well too.
okay,
So that part we just had, that was just live. It goes up on the socials and on YouTube and stuff like that. And then this part is like in the podcast edition as well. So like there's like two different ones. So there's the live version will go out in one podcast episode, and then this is like a secondary one, right, Bruce? That's how you have it.
Yeah, that's kind of how we're gonna do it. And then as Chris gets more time, what he'll do is he'll run in there and he'll get snippets out of there and run shorts and stuff on, just to kind of get some promotion going up. So he's doing the same thing with us as he's doing with you.
okay, all right.
So this part of it is kind of behind the paywall part, but unfortunately, much like our border, the wall doesn't really, the paywall isn't working very well. So anyone can just kind
It's
of
invisible.
It's an invisible
Right.
paywall.
Right.
So thank you all for contributing to the show, and we appreciate any donations you can to the show.
Yeah, but I think we can start doing it on the Spotify. I think we can do low as $1.99 a month. And then these bonus episodes would be available to only those people. But it would be you actually see them on the, I know this is like back office shit, but you actually see it on the channel. But you'll see like the little lock symbol next to it. And then you go to click on that or whatever. It's like, oh, you need to subscribe for $1.99 a month or whatever. You can do it from $1.99 all the way to like $5 or $6.99 or something like that.
Well, let's not get crazy.
Right.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like we can just go as low as $1.99.
Hey, dude, we start high, dude, and start coming down until we start getting it.
That's right.
That's an option too. Yeah,
Jason Stapleton thing, dude. $29.99, dude. You get it all
for a limited time only.
Right.
If you click within the next 2 hours.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's not all.
Yeah,
if you
that's
call
how
now,
if you click within the next 2 hours, it's $3,000, and then 3 months later, hey, I'll give you this and 5 other things for $300. I'm like, fuck, okay, yeah, I'll take that.
I'll buy that for $1.
Let's do that too.
I did with the Master Collection that he sold like a couple of years ago, like at the end of the year to get cash at the end of the year or something. I don't know what he was doing, but like, yeah, it was like podcast domination, and then like
I got that
mastery, and and iconic and everything. Yeah, I got that. He was like, yeah, it's gonna be like, I think I did like the payments. It was like 6 monthly payments of $100 or something like that, and or else one time it would have been like 400 or something. I'm like,
I did the one time. I did the one time everything for $3,000.
Dang,
it was $3,000 for everything. And I got every fucking course. I'm like, I want this one. I want the iconic course, and that was like $4,500. And he sold that for years for like $4,500. And so when it came down to the $3,000 and full Nomad network, everything, I was an admin on the Nomad network, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
and
really?
it was worth it. It was worth it because between what I did at work and what I did for my own stuff, that $3,000 I spent must have made us 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really is. If you apply it, it works.
Well, yeah, because a lot of the stuff that I got in the master collection, like I said, it was only like $600-700, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I've used a decent amount of it. Like Iconic was pretty good. Some of the stuff I didn't really use that much, but
the podcast school was good.
The podcast
that was
one was
really
good. And then there's the online business Kickstarter. That one, that one. Once I finished that, I started building my course. And and I was still working on that, but yeah, I like immediately after I got off that, it was like one of those situations, you know, like whenever you go to church camp over the summer, and then next thing you know, you're like the world's biggest Christian and stuff when you come back. Like that was like me after I did the podcast domination course. I'm like, okay, or not the podcast, the online business Kickstarter. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm starting a course, which I'm working on that.
Well, and actually, the reason I started doing stuff with Jason is I wanted to start an art instruction course. And everything I wanted to teach, I just don't have the time to do it, because as I got going, trying to get people to do the art instruction course, they just wanted to hire me to make art. And I'm like, all right, so you just want to pay me for this? Okay, I'll do that. And so what I'm doing is kind of building what I want to do later. Because when I retire in the next few years here, that's going to be my retirement, is art instruction courses. And so I'm just spending the next 5, 6 years, 7 years building an audience online for my art in any kind of genre I can find, because I've found the guys that are doing the best haven't niched down totally a lot, but they are just incredibly good artists. So I just need to be the incredibly good artist that can do anything. So that's what I'm working on. And I'm doing the same thing with music. That's why I'm trying to play the bass and learn the keyboards. So I'm like, I can play the shit out of the drums, but if I could play bass and keyboards, well, then I've got a band. Now I can make all my own music. I can make all my own tunes for all my own videos, all my own stuff. That's the plan. So learning all this is going to take some time. I'm on a 5-6 year horizon. I don't expect anything to happen in the next year.
So you and Bruce are going to retire about the same time at that rate, because he's almost ready for a hit Social Security age, but you're going to retire early, like 20 years early.
He's there.
Every time I threaten to retire, they pull me into the office and they freaking make a offer I can't refuse. So
you can refuse it. What? You know what? I bet you'll refuse the next offer you get after you get back from vacation coming out here.
I'm taking all the money I can get.
I'm moving to Wisconsin.
I want it all.
Yeah.
Chico.
He'll be like, you know what? You can't offer me anything unless it's in Wisconsin. So bye.
Hey, Chris, were you in the Nomad Network, Chris?
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
yeah, Chris was in there.
He's in Leverage now too. That's where me and him.
Oh shit! Really?
Yep.
Yeah. Me and him first connected. He's not that active though.
Yeah, I haven't posted a lot, but I do get in there and I do read and I do, scroll around. But my problem is I feel like I don't really have a lot to contribute to, and I think kind of at the tail end of the Nomad Network, I was starting to get in there a little bit more and be a little more active. And I was getting responses to posts that I put up. And so I would kind of go down that rabbit hole and talk to people instead of making a new post.
Well, it's a network. The idea is to network, and the leverage is the same thing.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've gone to post a few times and I've read it and I'm like, I sit there and I work on it and I'm like, okay, I reread it and I'm like, now let me walk away from it, because
I've done that about 6 times.
And I come back.
Just throw it up there. Just throw it up there, guys.
Yeah, I just throw up questions.
Just throw
sometimes.
that shit up there, because it'll never be perfect or right. It just, if you want to get response and start building a network of people that you can talk to. If you guys remember the Nomad Network, I mean, I like owned that thing as far as I really, really liked it. I liked the whole feel of it, how it worked. I wanted to post as much as I could. I had a lot of conversations with Jason about it. I'm like, I don't want to post too much, but Jesus Christ, if other people aren't going to put on, we got to get more of us to do some stuff. And we really tried to work on that to get a lot of people to work. That's why the leverage thing, there isn't a lot of posting. He's not focusing on that. So anyone that does post on there really gets noticed. And I haven't posted much on there, just because I haven't.
I reply a bunch on there if I can reply. You know, if
but replies are great.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
excuse me, Bruce. One more thing is this is what I use the Nomad Network for, was practice for other social media platforms, because I could fail on the Nomad Network and it wouldn't matter, and leverage things the same. So like Chris, what you're talking about doing, this would be, if you want any piece of advice, would be, don't worry about what you're, don't worry about the nuances of what you're saying. Just start getting stuff out there and see what would get your responses and what doesn't get responses, and just start building that, because as you go out and try to push your podcast and grow that, you're going to need to be able to just on the fly throw stuff out there. And I know Chris Harko's, he's been throwing a lot of stuff up lately, and boy, you're getting a lot of feedback on that.
I started realizing, especially on Facebook,
it's great.
Questions are like the key.
I gotta start doing that too.
You post something, you obviously seen what's going on. Like I like, sometimes I'll post some shit and it's crickets, and then sometimes it's like 106 comments.
Yep.
And shit like that. I'm just like, all right, cool. But then that helps out my next few posts. And so I've been trying to be strategic as possible, and then I'll check myself. So like last weekend, I just randomly, like, I've been posting like engaging, questioning things in order to build conversation and then move that into consultative sales.
Right.
And we'll try to. And then in order to check myself last weekend, I just made like 3 posts, like right back to back to back. They were 1,000% sales. Like one was like, get a website right now for $200. You get this for like this. Like there's just like, it was completely blanket and it was just crickets. And one of them had a little bit of traffic, so I deleted the other 2 and just kept that one up there, but only had like 10 comments. But then I just posted the one yesterday or whatever, the one today, and it's just like in my niche, I can get people to engage if I get them to talk about themselves.
Exactly. People want to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
You get me going, I'll go for 5 hours. You guys all know that.
Well, I
think almost all of us can go for about 5 hours if you get it started. If I can just pull that ripcord on the back.
Well, I think that's part of the thing about the podcast that I think is going to make it work is having people talk about themselves and having people talk about what they like and what they dislike, and not berating them with 1,000 questions that they've heard before. Right. And if you get anyone, but especially musicians or artists, you get them talking about themselves, and you can keep them on that train of thought, on that path. They'll just talk continuously. And, I've sat there and had a 1.5 hour long conversation with a guy, and I think I said maybe 4 or 5 words. Most of the time I was like, oh, that's all I said. It's like he wouldn't stop. It's like he could breathe and talk at the same time. And I was like, why was I not recording this? Should have had my phone on record and had it sitting right there, because that's a podcast right there that I didn't even have to participate in.
Yeah, and you just got audio only basically, and it's good to go. Done deal.
Yeah, and everything, that's a mistake, and that's a learning experience. If I'm sitting in front of someone, in the industry, and we're just kind of chatting, it's like, hey, do you mind if I record our conversation? And
I would probably say for my podcast, just add that. Yeah, if not, they'll be like, what the fuck you want to record it for?
Yeah, for a podcast, and they're like, what? Just give them a little information, but be like, you know what, man, check it out. I'm going to record this. And if it's said and done, you don't like it, I'll delete it. But if I delete it, you got to come sit down with
me. Oh, there you go. That's awesome.
You got to come sit with me, and we're going to work, with your schedule. But, if I record this and you like what you say, everything turns out well, I'm going to put it out there, and we'll work something out. I'll make something happen.
Right. Well, I think I wonder if Jason realizes that, or I wonder if there's another group like us, like me, Chris, and Jason, and Ken getting together and having this podcast like this. I mean, I think this is what Jason wanted, as far as the networking is concerned. I mean, I know he's all about business and getting out there and getting sales and getting money in your pocket and this and that, but he created something where, I didn't know Ken from Shinola, a couple years ago. And,
No, not
and
at
me,
all.
and Chris hooked up one time out of pure accident. And then Jason kind of came in and then, this
It all
podcast
came from the Wednesday night winner's
Yeah,
circle
the
meetings is
Wednesday
where it all
winner's
came
circle.
from.
Yeah, I think that's when it all started. But I mean, I've had this podcast stopped and started at least 3 times. I've got over 200 episodes of the old Weather Soul podcast, and then with another guy that I dealt with, or that I had, DJ Dougie, and it got kind of pretentious, so I had to cut him down. I had to cut him loose, and then I tried to do it on my own. Couldn't do it on my own, and just went, forget it. And then we started doing the Wednesday night thing, and then it just kind of going long, and then it was just me and Ken, and then Chris would sneak in, and Jason, and so yeah, I think this is what he was looking for when he had started that. It's
the
an
Wednesday night thing turned into the Sunday night thing that Ken moved
I took it over
after Jason left.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly.
Because I talked to Jason when he was shutting things down. I knew months before that was going away. And I asked him, I said, hey, when that goes away, there's a lot of people I want to stay in touch with that most of them are Facebook. That's why I started the Facebook group. And I said, can I use the Nomad Network so people recognize it as the same thing? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. And, then I started doing the Sunday night thing, and it just ended up being the 4 of us and Adam.
Yeah.
And
Wendy sometimes.
Yeah, Wendy would come in sometimes.
Just only from here up, though.
Yeah, with their wall of mirrors, which I thought was the coolest background of anyone ever, is that wall of mirrors. And I liked Wendy. I mean, I liked Adam too. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, we're not moving the ball forward anywhere. And I want to do that. I like what we've got going on here. I think that all we have to do is this is what, our third?
This is our 4th episode.
Yeah. This is our 4th. So Chris, when you get up to 4 episodes, I tell you what, things start to change pretty drastically.
The money starts rolling in.
Money just starts rolling
nonstop income. I can't open up enough bank accounts.
Yeah. I mean, there's a line out in front of my house right now of groupies. It's sick. Yeah. But the what we're doing here, I think of this kind of form, well, we will talk about anything to anyone, with the idea of that there's, we always start off with something a little bit political. Sometimes it doesn't go as political. Like this show was great because it was more just music industry, just the love of it and what people do in different parts of the country. But it's just people taking charge of their own lives and doing something with it. And what you were talking about, Chris, with the looking for, artists that are just living out of their car, getting started and pulling themselves up by the bootstraps. And those are the interesting people to talk to. And I liked the other thing you said, Chris, too, about the trying to find roadies and sound people and different people in the industry. I think that's a great angle for you.
Well, I think, the general public that is the music lover, the consumer, the person that follows an artist will follow them city to city, or, they'll say, oh, so-and-so's coming to my town, 4 months from now, let me buy front row tickets.
Right.
Well, you go to the show and you have a great time. You talk about it for like 2 or 3 weeks. And, you don't know what it took to put that show on. You don't know the people working the soundboard, the live sound producer. You know, that in and of itself is a feat to pull off. But you know, the general population, the person that goes to the show, they don't know somebody or a group of people are back here by all these soundboards and all these monitors, watching everything, listening to everything,
Yeah.
tweaking stuff constantly. And then you have the guys and girls doing the lights. You know, nobody,
Yeah.
you watch these videos on YouTube of this show, and you may not, I mean, you're seeing the lights, but you're not seeing the lights, you know, and you're not hearing the sound, and you're not seeing the guys and gals running around, tuning equipment, moving mics, getting stuff situated. All you're seeing is the person you came to see, you know, and yeah, they're the ones putting on the show, but they're not the ones doing the work. You know, I want to talk to the people that make stuff happen. Without them, the show wouldn't go on. You know,
Yeah.
the person behind the scenes who busts their tail to do their job, but they're content to be behind the scenes. You know, and who knows? Maybe a listener out there just kind of, I would like to do something in the industry, but I don't know what. I can't play, I can't sing, whatever, whatever. Well, you know, have you ever thought about doing lights? Have you ever looked into it? Have you ever thought about audio? Have you ever thought about maybe figuring out how to run a soundboard or maybe how to set speakers up or, you know,
Well,
tune instruments?
there's set design, there's packing and stuff. About 12 years ago, I went to a Rush concert, and my niece was touring with them playing violin, so we got to go backstage, and I got a really um, eye-opening view of just exactly what you're talking about. Is the guys in the background? They had the whole. I mean, it's a Rush concert. It was as big as you can get. It sold out a, I don't know, 25,000 seat arena. They did 3 shows, and they had it tore down and in the trucks ready to go to the next stop. All the lights, because like I said, there's the lights. People don't think about this. Someone shining lights. Well, also the lights usually come with the show. They're not there at the scene,
Yeah,
because every show has their own lighting system and the big screen and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff got tore down and thrown into trucks in like 2.5 hours.
yeah,
It was unbelievable watching
yeah.
these guys
And
work.
well, on top of that, you got to think every single venue is different. They're going to
Right.
be built differently. They're going to have different supports. They're going to have, you know, you can't bring this massive set of speakers and hang them in front of the stage because our venue will not support that weight.
Right.
Well, you got to figure out something because that's part of the sound at every single show you do is, well, for this particular tour, we got to have this mountain of speakers shooting out into the crowd. So if you're, you know, if it's a open air arena, you don't have a ceiling to hang from. Or
Right.
if you do have a ceiling to hang from, maybe it can't support the weight. Well, you got to figure out in advance how to make all that happen. And you got all these guys who are riggers. That is their job, is to build the scaffolding, to hang the stuff, sit back, watch the show concludes. Their job is to take it down. Well, they're in unions. They got to follow certain protocols. They got to
Right.
do, you know, but they're swinging around like Spider-Man, pulling stuff down, putting stuff up, and maybe they get to enjoy the show. Maybe they're already off to the next location, you know, with a separate couple of trucks with rigging, and they're starting to rig for the next show that's going to roll in, throw up the lights, speakers, everything, you know, and it's just like these guys and gals, they're the ones that make things happen. Without them, the artist could be up there singing, but nobody'd hear them, nobody'd see them. You know, you don't get that close up that you want without these people back here, that I want to be the guy that shines the light on those people.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. The other thing you're going to find too is you're going to end up with an endless amount of stories if you can tap into that population of people, because those guys are like it's like the Secret Service. That the guys that are in the Secret Service have stories. They can't always tell them, but they have them because they were in the belly of the beast. No matter what president, what side, doesn't matter. Roadies.
Ken, you're on point. You are not to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
I used to work with a guy when I was in healthcare. When he lived in North Dakota, he used to be a roadie, and he did stuff for like Motley Crue and Van Halen and whatnot. And the stories he told was just amazing.
Well, now, and probably back then as well, but now, these real big artists, you have to sign. What is it? It's a
non-disclosure. NDA.
Yes,
Yep.
you have to sign those now.
I got a couple of those going on right now with me.
And I have a guy that I was talking to that we're working out a schedule to do an interview, and he just kind of fell off the map. And he wasn't responding to text. He wasn't responding to emails. And I was kind of like, you know what? Okay, whatever. The ball's in your court. Here it is. Well, I actually ran into him probably 2 weeks after he fell off the map. And I was just kind of, hey, how you doing? And I wasn't being pushy. I mean, hey, you don't want to talk to me? Cool. I'll find somebody else. Hey, how you doing? Just to let you know, I signed a NDA and I can't really talk to you.
Yeah. And the funny thing about NDAs, I've been sued before, and the NDA is barely worth what the paper it's written on. But it scares people when they sign them because they think that, I got to do it. And so they think that they can't say anything to anybody about anything. And it's just not true, which is unfortunate.
That's Stormy Daniels.
He got called to work with a massive artist. And he told me, he said, in my niche of the industry, I'll get a call and I have 5 minutes, if that, to decide if I'm going to take the job or not. Sometimes it's not even that long. They'll call and say, hey, we're doing a 6-month tour. We're going to pay you this. We need to know in the next 4 seconds if you can take it. If you can't, I got 17 other people I'm going to call. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'll do it. All right. Faxing over the NDA. You sign it. You talk to no one about who it is, where we're going, what we're doing, dates, nothing. And that's where he was at. And he's like, I can't talk to you. I'm under NDA, blah, blah, blah. It's just real. And I was like, okay, man, hey, catch up with you later on. Yeah. Whatever.
Check you later.
The whole, hey, you need to jump immediately. That's one of the reasons only one reason that I just left the restaurant and I'm back to doing Grubhub and Uber Eats in between gigs and stuff, because I've been getting a little bit of stuff here and there growing on all the stuff that I'm doing, and I'm building some relationships with some people that have some decent little connections. And if stuff starts coming down with that, I need to be able to be flexible. And plus it's going to be better to help out people. It's going to be better for my business if, like for instance, with you, when you hit me a podcast and say, hey, can you edit this? And I edit it within like 2 hours for you. It's a lot better than 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? I know me and you've been dealing with that, but we're both really busy people. But, if somebody's like, hey, we need you to edit this whole music video for me. Here's $300, $400, whatever. And I can knock it out in a day or two. Then they're going to be like, yo, hit this guy up. He's got good work and he's fast as shit. And then I can start racking it up and I start charging a little bit more because I'm super rapid, everything like that. And so, but like I said, with some of these, like I got one connection with a guy who has like a mid-level contract that's supposed to start hitting anytime soon, as soon as they finish up some of the recording and all that kind of stuff. And so some of the marketing aspects of that, he's tasked with the marketing, and he's going to be throwing some stuff my way, and it's stuff I'm going to need to be able to do ASAP. And so I get what you're saying with that guy. He was like, hey, if I got 5 minutes to tell him yes or no before they move to somebody else, it's, you got to be really flexible with that.
Yeah. And, I understand that, and I understand the industry enough to know. And like y'all mentioned earlier, a lot of artists, especially big name artists, they know everybody around them is being nice to them because that person wants something. And if you can approach this person with a attitude of, the only thing I want is I want a conversation. I don't care if you sign my album, my shirt, whatever. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for conversation. And in fact, you talk to me, and I'll let you lead the conversation. I've that a lot of artists are introverts, and they're just, when they're out in public, they're just very quiet and very to themselves. Well, when they're on stage, they're just, the eye of the part. No, what am I trying to say? They are the focus, and they know that, and that's what they
feel
want.
like they're on all the time.
Yeah,
you got to be on when you're out.
Yeah, and
that's one thing I noticed about that Bill guy. After about 20 minutes with Bill, he even said it out loud too. He's like, "All right, yeah, no, I'm chill now," because he was like rigid, and then he just.
Yeah, and I think, the first time I met him, again, I talk to anybody, and I will sit there. I can't tell you how long we talked. His wife finally came over and said, look, I've tried to be nice. I've texted you. I've called you. And you look at the phone, and she's right there. And she said he looks at the phone, sees it, her, and keeps talking to me. And she was like, no disrespect, son. We have got to go. And he's like, I was like, man, you got a business card? His wife whips it out, almost like, yes, let him leave. And, I was like, okay. So I gave it a day or two before I contacted him, and I just sent him a real quick email. Hey, it's Chris. I really enjoyed our conversation the other night. I would like to talk again, whenever and I'd already made mention about the podcast. And I said, whenever you get the opportunity, just hit me back. Here's my phone number. You can text me, call me, whatever. Gave him a couple of days. He responded. It's back and forth. You got to give artists 2 or 3 days to respond. So,
sometimes more.
Yeah, depending on how busy they are. So I'd shoot him a text or an email, not expecting anything. And then he just hit me up, and he's like, hey, man, I'm free on this date between these hours. So I was like, well, shit, I better make it work. So, that's kind of what happened. And, I really had a good time. And at the end of it, he was like, dude, I'm already 18 minutes late to my next thing. And I haven't even left here yet. I've got to go. I said, dude, I'm not holding you.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to go.
He was the one that was talking most of the time. You only got like 5-10 minutes of talk time in on that whole episode.
Yeah. But that he was so knowledgeable about everything in his genre. Mm-hmm. And that's what I like. I like the people that, that they'll talk about their music, their genre. And a lot of them hate, I hate genre. I hate being labeled. I understand that, but for the consumer, you got to maybe not fit the mold of a genre, but you've got to find a genre to be in, to find, your fan base, I think. So I really liked the way he broke stuff down. He didn't sugarcoat anything.
And when are you putting that out? I thought whenever the guys were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna check out his thing," I looked at him like, "Why doesn't he have episode 2?" And I just forgot to message you about it.
Is it not up yet?
No. Did you want? Was I supposed to do that, or were you gonna do that? I guess maybe that's a communication thing.
I thought you were doing it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's on me. Yeah, let me get
I'm
that for you.
sorry.
Smooth move, X-Lax.
That's all on me. Yeah, no problem.
Oh, no. Remember, you had sent me an email and you said we were going to talk about how I could put all that stuff up there. Is that,
okay?
Do you
Yeah,
remember
because
that?
I can't. Maybe I can't remember. I'll look in the email real quick and see what I'm talking about.
I think it was a
Okay.
text message.
Okay.
You said we would sit down and talk about how I could get all that stuff. Basically, take that work off of you, which I'm putting a ton of work on you. I know that.
Right. No, it's fine either way. It doesn't take that long to post it up. I just yeah, I guess maybe I just put it once I told you that, I put it in my head that you were putting it up. But that explains why it's not up. I'll get it taken care of. Give me a second.
Well, when it does get up, you're gonna have 3 more listeners right there.
Oh,
I'm looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely.
Bruce, you were talking about stuff on the rocks, so
There you go.
there's
There you go.
my big
I
ice
do my
cube.
bourbon on the rocks, man. My boss will he doesn't
I'm trying this stuff. It's
yeah,
Scotch.
he has a fit every time I
Oh,
do
it's
that.
good.
I'm not a big Scotch drinker either.
This
I
is
don't
smoky as hell too.
I don't
This
like
is
the
as
peat. I don't like
smokiest.
the peat.
This is it's peaty, smokiest.
Yeah,
peat.
I'm not a big
so
I'm not a
good.
big peat guy, man. It tastes like freaking iodine, so I just don't do it. But
Well,
bourbon,
I've got a propensity for iodine. So
but
Is it what's age on that Scotch?
let's see. I think it's 10-year.
Okay.
yeah. Because I like bourbon. I mean, I like all bourbons and whiskeys.
Oh,
and
I do
that.
too.
So,
I like a
but
smoky
Scotch. I just can't get the taste for Scotch, and for that fact, IPAs, man. I'm just not into that hoppy stuff, man. It's just like
Irish whiskey.
it's like tasting a rusty nail.
I like.
don't know.
I pretty much. I'm a lush. I like just about everything.
you're just a fucking alcoholic. It's okay.
Kind of like that. I don't drink. I don't drink a lot, but I do drink often.
Well, I tell you, got me into IPAs, and I was the same way. I hated IPAs. And a buddy of mine, he introduced me to New England IPA, which is going to be a little more fruit forward, not so grassy, greeny, hoppy,
Right.
like the West Coast. The IPAs out there where you're at, buddy, that to me, that's like taking a mouthful of grass, chewing it, and calling it beer. You know, and I mean, hot bombs.
Yeah, it's like
come
mixing
from
it with a
California.
freaking rusty nail.
Yeah. So if you do the New England IPAs, they're going to be a little more fruit forward. Well, once your palate kind of learns to accept that and almost looks forward to it, then you can kind of start experience or kind of move over here and put your foot in the water of West Coast IPAs.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I'm not going to say you're going to love them, but you kind of start respecting them. And then you'll drink one and say, you know what? It's a little hoppy for me, but I see what they're trying to do there. But anything that ever says hot bomb or something along that lines on the can, stay away from that. That's grass in a can.
I drink beer as a refreshing drink, like I would drink an iced tea
on a hot day.
Like
I like a cold
on a
beer
hot
on
day.
a hot day.
I'm a hot day beer drinker. Other than that, I'm pretty much a bourbon drinker. So I mean, I drink bourbon to get high. So
well, I'll tell you that the other day. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Yeah, that's
you
all
were
right.
talking about barrel aged, and I didn't want to say anything while we were live. I found a red ale bourbon barrel aged beer the other day. Outstanding.
Yeah, it just
it was
freaking
just
it has this
outstanding.
taste. It has this back in the back of it that's just I can't describe it. It's the best of both worlds. It really is.
Well, I bet if somebody put a gun to your head and said describe it, you could. No, and see, well,
I
can
get my
do
gun
that.
real quick.
What I got guns. Which we're gonna put to your head?
well, that's what I like is that you. When I was first getting into beer reviews, I would tell a buddy of mine, I can't describe, and he's like, "How can you not describe it? If you can sense it, you can describe it. Just speak. Just let the words come out of your mouth. You will eventually hit on it." And it, I would, and there's a guy I subscribe to on YouTube. He does beer reviews, and he'll take a sip of the beer, and you can see while he's thinking about it, he never stops talking. He just, what is going through his brain is coming out of his mouth. And sometimes it kind of seems like, where you go, oh, I see the path you're going down. And then he just finds his mark and he just goes with it. And he can take 17, 18 minutes to describe a beer. That's a little too much. I think about 3 or 4 minutes that's about a lot of people, a lot of consumers. And what I would like to do is give you a description of what I'm getting out of the beer just real quick. I'm not going to break it down, and get every different aspect. People, 99% of the people out there, they're just like, dude, is it hoppy? Is it fruity? Has it got a good body? That's all I want to know because I'm going to drink it. I'm not dissecting it.
Right. So my boss on one side, he does that thing where, he's all like, no, I'm not giving you any of my bourbon or my stuff, because, you drink it wrong, and on the other side, I have my buddy, brother Bob, who he is just like, he's like with wine, like somebody who would go like, no, it's got to be this way. You do it like this. And there's no other way to do it than this. It's like this, and you take 2 of these and you do this, and then 3 times this, and it's just like you get down to doing something with him and you just go like, dude, you're exhausting me. Can I just drink my fucking wine?
Well,
I don't want to process from my drinking.
There's no wrong way to drink wine or bourbon.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. I don't know if y'all probably haven't heard of it. There's a place right down the street from me called Nashville Barrel. They're starting to get big nationwide, but they barrel a lot of bourbon, and there's a lot of bourbon moves out there. And I go down there, I'll do tastings, I do flights, things like that. And there was a guy came in to do a barrel pick. Barrel of bourbon to do a barrel pick is between $10,000 and $15,000 is what you're going to spend to pick a barrel of bourbon. He came in, they were, sorry, so-and-so, we're still trying to set up back here. Can we offer you anything, while we're waiting? He's like, hey, what's this guy drinking? And he was talking about me, and I was like, oh, well, let me tell you all about it. Little did I know, I was talking to a guy who is a connoisseur. And, they went ahead and poured me another flight, and they went ahead and filled up my glass of water, and I dipped my finger in it, and I did a couple little drops like that. And he just looked at me and he said, why'd you do that? And I told him. And I said, why do you think that's wrong? And he said, son, there's no wrong way to drink bourbon if you enjoy it. And that one little statement has stuck with me for so long. And
Exactly.
I've applied that to beer. I've applied that to wine. I've applied that to anything I consume. If I
Yeah.
consume it my way, enjoy it, that's the way I'm supposed to drink it or eat it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, I honor that sentiment all the way, man. So that's where I can respect that for sure. So
Bruce, I just sent you a text of the Leinenkugels Brewery, and if you're going to Eau Claire to visit your buddy,
mhm.
the Leinenkugels Brewery is about 10 miles away from there.
Okay.
And the brewery is it was originally built in like the 1870s or 1880s. They brew all of their beer, all of their different kinds in 2 stills that are still there. And the tour is awesome. It only takes about an hour to go through the tour. And then they've got a great store that you can do flights, and they have a whole bunch of different, like from low end to high end beers, all kinds of different stuff to try. And like I said, I'm
what?
Leinenkugels.
Leinenkugels. Okay.
Yep,
There it is.
LEI, and I sent you a text with a it shows
Yeah,
you right to the map.
I got
you
it
can
right
look
here.
at it.
Yeah,
But
This stuff is good. I wish I could drink it still.
yeah, I can't drink beer very much. I like a cold beer once in a while. What my go-to right now is Stella. I like that. I end up with heartburn really bad with beers, especially like some of the IPAs just kill me. I like them. I like the way they taste, but they just that's why I moved to the harder liquor, because it was starting to get too much heartburn.
Well, I'm Mexican, so I do Modelo.
Modelo's good.
I love Modelo.
And with a name like McGee, you're super Mexican.
If you like IPAs, but they seem to give you heartburn, maybe if you can find beer from the Maine Brewing Company, their IPAs.
The Maine, like the state.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They might
Maine
have suppositories for that for you. I don't know.
Maine Brewing Company, their IPAs are filtered. They're beautiful. They have plenty of flavor, and you may be able to drink them. Maine Brewing Company.
Maine Brewing. I'll look them up.
Look for.
I've got friends in Maine too. So
yeah, look for antacid suppositories.
Maine antacid.
So I picked up a Grubhub order at CVS today, right? And it was only 3 items. And then CVS is like, it's a shop and pay, right? Like I go in, I shop, but it was only 3 items. And it was like, I was going to be getting like almost $20. I was like, fuck, okay, yeah, done deal. So I go in there, and like as soon as I get there, I hit I'm here, and then it comes up with the order on the screen. And I took a picture of it, and I forgot to send it to you guys, but I took a picture of it. And so the first item is Docalax stimulant laxative tablets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next one is CVS Health disposable enema, latex free, 2 count. And then the third item is this is what made it funny for me. The third item is Red Bull energy drink, sugar free.
Nice.
And so like I was going to make a post. I'll make a post about it on Facebook, but I was going to say you have the cause and effect in one order.
Get ready to live.
Let's see, it's right here. Oh, you can't see it very well. Yeah,
You're
but
live a little.
it's
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
You gotta live a little.
That is fantastic.
yeah.
Glutenberg is my beer of choice, but it's only because it's made out of
Dead children.
wait. What did you say, Chris?
That's not dead children. You were stumbling, so I said the first thing that was ridiculous on the top of my head.
Ridiculous.
That's what Pepsi's made out of. You know that, right?
You've brought something up. So when my daughter was growing up, when she was little, before she got into school, we used to tell her that she likes steak, and we had steaks, and she's like, "What steaks come from?" And I said, "Little girls." And we joked about it. She thought that was funny, Then she got into first grade, and then there was like some little, everyone gets up and says who they are and what they like, and she got up to in front of the class, is like, "Hi, my name's Logan, and I like steak, and it's made of little girls." And I got a call on that one.
Dude, I got the Karens after me.
Oh, it's so
when I
funny.
went to the pizza parlor and that the Girl Scouts were out there with cookies. And I bought cookies. And I made the little joke. I said, "Are these made out of 100% pure Girl Scout?"
Yeah.
And the moms were not
Here
amused.
come the Karens. Yep.
Unbelievable.
But they took my money anyway.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
They just took it like this.
I'm sorry. That's just the way it is, you know. That's the way I roll.
Well, if you can't,
I'm an older Jason.
Yeah, exactly.
if you can't take a joke, I mean, there's.
Oh, dude, it's the liberal women out here are just fucking atrocious, dude. You just don't even know. You'd have to come out here to experience it. Almost every woman has like a haircut like Harko's there, but they have this freaking teal or purple or green stripe that they have here, and it's supposed to signify their whatever.
I'm telling you, Bruce, we got to do the Midwest guys come out west, and it's going to be like, well, it'll be you, me, or Jason will be you, me, and Chris, and it'll be Dumb, Dumber, and Dumbest. And
so what do I do the shorts with the black socks and the wingtips, or what? Is that
no?
what
We'll have so much fun talking with these people. I'm just, offending the woke is one of my favorite hobbies.
Oh yeah,
there's not much more fun than that.
It's really easy to do. I know somebody who you could talk to, and it'd be very, very easy for you to do.
You know, you start out with, well, women are simple, so I know that you probably don't understand what I'm about to tell you, but, and things like that, and just to get them going. I mean, I really, really enjoy that.
Yeah, you got to start it off right.
Yeah,
there are parts in Nashville where that statement would get you smacked.
Oh, I hope so. If I don't get slapped, that means I wasn't done right. And then you can tell them to cross the legs, you smell their breath. And I mean that that isn't always the best thing to say to a person. But if they slap you, they got the coming.
There's a certain part of town that if you said that, they would smack you, and it would feel like you've been hit by a bat, and they would just turn around and walk away.
Oh, yeah.
And that would be the ones like, you know what, you don't want to mess with her.
But I'd also stand and defend her if someone was coming after her too. I'd be the first one to do that. I don't I don't discriminate that way. I think that people just need to. Everyone's had it so friggin' good that the slightest little offense is this huge thing. And I'm like, you guys, no, I'm in the motorcycle industry. It's what I do for a living. And the motorcycle industry isn't like that. It's a fuck around and find out kind of place.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I love it. That's why I've stayed in it for 30 years. Cause I'm like, this is great. During the COVID bullshit, what was going on? Sturgis. I was there. We had 5,000-6,000 people a day coming through our booth. And it was awesome. I had my son came out with me, and it was awesome. It was like, yeah, there isn't a problem here.
Well, one of the artists that I think she's really going to take off even more so than she already has. She's in the motorcycle scene, and she is just an absolute sweetheart. I love her to death.
Who is it?
Jasmine Kane.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, she's on the website. You haven't interviewed her yet.
Yeah, I know. I was wondering if we can do something about that because summer coming. I'm not gonna have access to her.
Well, if you just give me the information for Bill, I'll put it in there in the place of it. Since you've already interviewed Bill.
Okay.
But she rides, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's
I know her. Why do I know her? Why do I know that name? Is she an influencer of some sort, or does she have a?
She had a decent
other than the music stuff.
I'm not gonna say she.
I'm gonna look her up. Jasmine Kane.
Yeah.
CAIN or is there an E in?
CAIN.
Oh, she is. Yeah, I know her.
She's an absolute sweetheart. I love her to death. She told me one night, she's like, oh, you need to come see me at such and such bar. And I'm like, oh, that's a motorcycle bar.
Yes, those are the best kinds.
And she said, yeah, it is. I said, and I was joking. I was like, well, I don't know if they would accept my type in there. And she said, "Oh, honey, you would fit in perfectly." She said, "You're no nonsense, blah, 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 this and that." And I was kind of like, I was joking, but I'm going to let you, and my part time job, we have a lot. I'm not going to say a lot. We have a handful of old school bikers,
Yep.
That are our customers. And they're good people. They really are. They just get a bad rap because of the way they look, but when it comes down to it, they're good people. They shoot you straight and they're in your corner as long as you're straight with them. And they're the ones that you want behind you if somebody's trying to start some shit.
Right.
Just bikers get a bad rap. And that's, they just.
Well, and part of getting a bad rap as the biker thing is part of what you want. And
yeah.
It's part of the romance of it. I've been in the bike. I used to paint motorcycles and did custom painting and stuff like that. And for all kinds of people from every kind of walk of life you could imagine. And there's some tough motherfucker bikers. I mean, seriously, hard charging, will break your teeth without thinking about it. But they don't do it. Like you said, that the bad rap that they get is people just assume they just do that for fun. It's not. It's if you cross them.
Yeah.
And they're the best people to have with you, but you don't ever mess with them, because once you've messed with them once, it's done. It's done. You're persona non grata. See you later. This person's dead to us.
Yeah. And, there are biker gangs like there are everywhere, everything else. And of course they have their own niche and their own way of doing things. But
right.
it's the, when I worked where I worked before I was a fireman, there were a couple of guys that were in clubs, not gangs, but clubs. And they were legitimate, upstanding people. They did, toy drives, and they did this and they did that, and they did stuff for the community. And, like everybody else, they had their vest, they had their patch, and you had to earn the patch. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't tell me about that, and I didn't ask.
The best part about a lot of these clubs is, in the way that clubs go in the world right now, the chess club, the car club, the sports club, the whatever, most of them, you by showing up and paying your dues, you're in. And the biker world is different. You have to prove that you want to be in there.
Oh, and yeah.
That's something that I really appreciate about it, because you get, it's more real. It really is a brotherhood, because at the end of the day, when you're on a motorcycle, I don't know if you ride or not, but when you're on a motorcycle, everyone's trying to kill you. Everybody. And, and you could die just from the skunk running out in front of you. There's, I've crashed. It sucked. It fucked me up for 2 months.
Quit splitting lanes, man.
I got a bike. I do ride, but my bike's got a sidecar. So
what do you got? Now I'm intrigued.
I have
sidecars that kick ass.
A Ural.
You have a Ural? Is it the 2-wheel drive one?
It is a 2-wheel drive, but I don't have the axle.
You can drive that in the snow.
I don't have the axle to go from the bike to the sidecar, but I have all the connections.
There's a guy out here in Wisconsin that drives year round. He studs the wheels, and he's got the axle goes over, so he's got the 2-wheel drive, and he rides that motorcycle all year long, snowstorms, everything. Those Urals are really neat bikes.
It is geared so low.
Yeah, you're not going to go 100 miles an hour.
No. It on the speedometer, it has 100 miles an hour. At 70 miles an hour, my needle is doing this. It's like
it's optimistic. 100 miles an hour.
Blow it up. But
it's true.
The great thing about that bike is that it's not going to go fast enough for me to do something stupid and kill myself, because it just
Well,
can't
I
go
can show you how to do that if you want.
No. I tell you what, have you ever ridden a bike with a sidecar?
Yes, it's a whole different experience.
Yes, it is. That is absolutely crazy. I had to teach myself how to do that.
So for you
And
guys to like motorcycles lean, well, you get a sidecar, it doesn't lean anymore.
no,
Unless you're turning to the left, then if that starts to come up, it you know, because you can lift that side up, and once it's up,
yeah,
you've gone too far, and then you're over. It's a weird feeling
Exactly
because
why I don't ride motorcycles.
when I turn to the right towards the sidecar, I have to lean
Yeah.
over the sidecar to keep it from coming up.
yeah,
But if you turn to the left, you
Or
can lean into it
right.
and actually have the sidecar help push you through the turn. But
Yeah, they're a lot of
if you,
fun.
yeah, and I tell you what's crazy is once I learned how to ride the Ural, and I rode it for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. A buddy of mine, well, I tell you, I got in trouble and I had to go take a motorcycle course to get my license.
Yeah.
And when you go through the course, you ride, a straight two-wheeler motorcycle. My brain couldn't comprehend how to ride that motorcycle.
That's
I
totally different.
almost
Totally
bumped it
different.
a number of times because I'm so used to, I got to make this turn, so I got to turn the wheel and lean into it so the bike doesn't flip.
Yeah.
You do that on a two-wheel motorcycle,
Going over. Yeah.
you're going to go over that way.
It's exactly
So,
the opposite.
I mean, it's just, I almost failed the course because I forgot how to ride.
We had a
motorcycle.
guy, I think you'll appreciate this. So we had a guy that came to our company at one point that made something called, it was a tilting motorcycle. So he had a two wheels that he put on a Harley on the front. So you'd have the two wheels on front, right? So
Yeah.
whenever you have one wheel, it was an operation at two wheels, and it was hydraulically computer controlled. Well, the two wheels leaned, so you can still throw it over in corners and stuff. But
Yeah.
if you stopped, it would fall over because they would lean. They would just lean. So he had this computer program that would like lock them up for. It was the weirdest thing, but you could throw this thing. I wrote it after about an hour. I figured it out, and I was like, you could throw this thing so hard into a corner because he had two wheels in front that were leaning, so it got all the traction just like a regular motorcycle does. But then the back wheel was just along for the ride at that point. Oh my god, it was fun, super heavy, and it was on a Harley Road King, and I'm hammering these off ramps at like 75, 80 miles an hour on a Road King, just with this weird. And we had the guy that was our race. We had a race team at the time. So my last company, and it was Vance and Hines race team, but it was our bikes, and the race guy got on it, and it was so like you were talking about, it was so foreign to him. Right away, within 130 feet, he crashed it. He's just like slam, and he goes down to the ditch and hit a tree.
A buddy
Didn't get hurt or
mine,
nothing, but it was just like, I can't figure this thing out. This makes no sense.
a Harley rider, he kept giving me grief about my bike. And he's like, man, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I was like, no, you can't. You can't ride it. Just over and over and over. And I finally met him in a parking lot. I'm like, you know what? I'll tell you what, man. I want you to ride to the parking lot. I want you to basically do a square and bring it back. And I said, if you can do a square and bring it back, we'll go for a ride through Nashville. I'll let you ride my bike. I'll ride your bike. Thank God he couldn't do it because my brain, I couldn't ride his bike. He went down, almost flipped it on the first turn, made it through, gets to the second turn, almost flips it again, pulled the clutch in, popped the clutch, and killed it. Got off, walked all the way back up to me. He said, "I'll never sit on that again." He was shaking. He was that scared.
Have you
I
ever
said,
driven?
"I told you couldn't do it."
Have you driven a Harley with the sidecar? Because that's even another whole different world. Because the Harleys are super heavy. Like the Urals are cool because they're light. The Harleys are super heavy, so you can get in the same trouble, but you get in that same trouble at a much higher speed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's fun to watch. And the tri-glides too. The 3-wheelers are that's another whole world of weirdness.
I would like to try to ride a trike. I think I could because I actually grew up on the old school 3-wheeler.
Yes.
So I think it's similar concept, but
it is. If you because remember
at
the
a
old 3-wheelers
faster
would always
pace.
kind of do this. You know,
Yeah.
they never like were solidly, going forward. They always had a little bit of gyration like that.
Yeah. When you're riding, you have to go like this. Yeah.
Yeah, to keep them straight. Yeah.
And the Harley tri-glides are the same way, but they're a lot more stable than the old ones because those old Honda, like those little Honda 200s and stuff. I remember just being ripped because you could run yourself over because you'd drop your foot and you'd catch that foot on the back and it would suck you right off the machine and it would run you over. Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Those things were. There was so many ways to die on those. That's why they stopped making them. The amount of lawsuits made Honda just like, all right, we'll put another wheel in the front and call it good. We'll call it the 4-tracks. There we go.
Okay, I'm an old guy. I got to get out of here, guys. You know me. I'm first one out.
Oh yeah, he's the old guy.
First one out all the time. Well, he's the first one in and first one out.
Yeah, and it's like yesterday where he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's already tomorrow where I'm at. All y'all are still catching up. Well, me and Chris, we're already in tomorrow. You guys are all still yesterday.
Chris, man, it was nice to have you, buddy. I gotta bow out of here, dude. So
Okay.
My morning starts early, but anyway, it's nice to have you. You guys keep it going.
His Ovaltine is wearing off.
Yeah, the Ovaltine, the Geritol.
Got to have thick skin with these guys.
Well, I appreciated the invite. I had a good time, and it was a great conversation.
Yeah, you guys keep it going. I'm out of here.
All right, see you, Bruce. Good to see you.
Good night.
Bruce is one of the good ones. I don't care what you say about him, Chris. He's all right.
One of the good ones.
So that's so anyway, Chris, we're playing around with music, trying to figure out. So one of the reasons I'm learning to play bass is so I can maybe put bass to one of the songs I want to use for you. I'm like 3 weeks. I'm like 3 weeks into playing bass, so I can play
actually
Stand By Me is about the only song I can play. And another one, Bites the Dust.
I listened to everything y'all sent over and over and over, and I came up with one that I thought really it spoke to me because it kind of comes in a little, I'm not going to say a little slow, but it kind of picks up.
It builds.
It almost seems like it changes genre, if you will.
Cool. Yep.
And to me, it's kind of like that. I want something like that because I don't want somebody to say, or I never want anyone, especially an artist, to say, oh, well, you have a rock and roll intro and outro song, or you have a blues intro outro song, or you have a very blah blah blah. That intro is kind of like it could actually be alt rock, alt blues, or it could be an alt something, and it kind of comes in slow and then it builds and it builds, and when it cuts off, it kind of leaves you in a happy state.
There you go.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it leads you into the podcast in a slightly happier mood.
That's kind of what we were trying to do with the intro one. We're having a ball doing them. I mean, it's really for because I'll do a track and send it out to Bruce, and then he'll do something and send it to me, and then I'll play over that, and you know, this is all of an experiment for all of us, you know, and
Well,
so any feedback you give us is great. I'd love it.
well, I really enjoyed the one I picked out because to me it seems like it can go, it can fit any genre of podcast. I can bring
Makes sense.
somebody in who's blues. I can bring somebody in who's rock. The very first podcast I did, the guy was black metal, was his genre of music. Now, that intro would not have worked with his music, but you know, I'm doing the intro to kind of be a neutral ground,
Right.
you know, and but I want it to bring, I want it to bring you in a happy mood. You know, when the intro music is over, you're in a happy mood. So everything just kind of flows at that level. Now, you know, the very first guy I interviewed that did the black metal, super guy, loved it, just a great dude, but his music was just, I didn't get it. And, and that's one of the things I said during the interviews, like, man, I'll be honest with you, I just don't get it. I said, you know what am I supposed to be getting out of listening to your music? And he actually broke it down and he said, you know, he said, listen to my songs and can you separate the guitar from everything else? I said, of course I can. He said, listen to the guitar. Is my guitarist not one of the most talented people? And I was like, man, that's a high bar. I said, so you know what? I'll check it out. His guitarist was phenomenal, but it's just everything is so stacked and stacked and stacked and just shoved in your face. And then his vocal track just hammers you. But that's the style of the music.
Right.
That's the genre of the music. So I would listen to it over and over and over and over. And I would try to pick the vocals out and set everything else to the side. Then I started understanding the music.
Right.
And I asked him during the interview, I said, who are the top 3 people in your genre of music that influence you? And he gave me the band's names. So I went and checked. And then stuff started making sense to me. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to make that a playlist of mine, but when I hear songs like that that fit that genre, I'm going to listen to them.
You'll know more about it. Yeah,
right.
Understand it a little bit.
Right. I'm going to approach it at a little from a different direction than I would just head on.
It's interesting as I'm going through some of my dad passed away about 1.5 years ago, and I'm just kind of going through all of his music and stuff like that that's been recorded, and I found some old cassette tapes. And on the one half of the cassette tape was a jazz concert, and the other half of the cassette of the same cassette was him conducting a symphony orchestra. Now, I'm impressed with the musicianship of the symphony orchestra. I can listen to it. I can appreciate it. I've had to study it in the past for different things. It puts me to sleep. I mean, I'm just like, these are the top musicians. I just can't. I'm not a symphony guy. I'm not a classical music person. I can understand it. I can listen to the melodies but it's just not for me. So I relate with what you're talking about because you can look at it, and as you learn more about it and listen and try, okay, I understand why all this is still not for me. It's like lowrider cars. I'm a car guy too. Like lowriders that bounce up and down and they got the crazy paint and stuff. I freaking love looking at those things and watching them do what they do. I never want to own one. I have zero passion for them, but I can appreciate the work.
It's art.
Yes.
Those low riders that, have the hydraulics, they're it's a showpiece. It's
Right.
a showpiece. It's rolling art, and I appreciate what you said about that, because I love looking, but I would never own one.
No,
Now,
not one. Yeah, exactly.
the symphony, the orchestra, all that style of music, I hated, honestly, because I didn't understand it
Yep.
until I went to college, and some of the courses that I took during our tests, they would hand the test out and say, you have till the bell rings, to take this test.
Right.
They would just play orchestral music in the background, and the teacher would just kind of sit up there and do whatever. Professor, I'm sorry. And I learned to appreciate, because I would listen to it differently than just saying, oh, I don't like this because this old people music.
It's better than silence at that moment.
Yeah, but my brain, and then I have professors that would be like, why don't you study to this style of music? And I'm like, why would I do something like that? Well, I tried it because I had a class that I was not doing well in. And I was like, you know what? I have friends that study to this. Why don't I try it? Then I started learning to appreciate the music.
Right.
I was like, that's why this music has lasted hundreds and hundreds of years in the exact same format, and why you have 30 people down here playing this exact same song, because there's an art to it.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't appreciate it as much as the person that spent $4,000 to come watch the show, but there's an art to it. I can appreciate it. And I think something I've kicked around, I haven't talked to you about it, Chris. I would like to, once all this really gets rolling, I would like to say this is a RCG production, rose-colored glasses, because I'm going to look at everything I do, everyone I talk to, through a rose-colored lens. No matter what you put out there, I'm going to try to find the good in it.
I like that idea. That's a great idea.
Even if it's a style of music, or maybe something you do in the music industry that I don't understand, or maybe it's a style of music I'm like, you know what, I just can't get into this. Well, it's this person's art. It means something to them. Mm-hmm. And this art means something to someone else down the line. Maybe I don't understand it because it doesn't fit me right now, but it means something to these people. So why don't I look through rose-colored glasses, at this? It just, I don't feel that I have the right to talk bad about someone else's music when I can't play, write, sing, produce. I can't do anything musically. So why should I talk bad or think bad about someone else who can? Somebody who's given it their last dime to get in the studio, their heart and soul. They're working all day, 10 hours at some job they hate, and then they gotta come to the house and get with their boys or whatever and try to pump out. Today when I was working on my studio, there was a band upstairs in one of the units up there cranking it. I mean, cranking it up there practicing, and they had the whole place. They were jamming. They were doing it. And I enjoyed everything I heard. It's kind of an alt rock thing, kind of a, you know.
Are they playing in it's a storage unit area?
Yeah.
Kind of. Okay, very cool.
Yeah, it would actually surprise you in Nashville how many bands rent storage units as practice studios.
Well, I would not be surprised by that. It's a good idea. When in the 90s, when I was playing in a blues band pretty regularly, we rented a room in it was an old General Mills. General Mills is from Minneapolis, and they made Cheerios, and a bunch of other stuff. It's General Mills. I mean, you've heard of General Mills and all kinds of shit. Well, this was their lab headquarters, and it had moved, but the building was still there. It's an old brick building. So they had all these offices and in labs. Well, they were perfect for bands to play. So there was like 30 bands that rented. I think we rented a room. It was like $250 a month or something like that for like a, I don't know, 400 square foot room. And I loved it because I could go down there and just play. Because being a drummer and having roommates and stuff, it's not conducive to having roommates. Drums suck. If you ever lived with anyone that plays drums, it's the worst thing in the world. And because there's no headphones, not like, well, I got an electric set now, but I got my regular big set there. That's the set I use. And so I could go down there and play for like 3-4 hours every day, and it was awesome. No one would bother me, and I could just do it. And I'm also in this room like where I had stopped. You come out and you're all sweaty, and like I've been trying to do some stuff, and there's all these other musicians there. And like you said, you go and listen to what they're doing. You're like, oh man, these guys are awesome. Where are you guys playing? Oh, we don't play anywhere yet. We just get together and do this. Or there's another band down the hallway that's got like the best gigs in town.
Yeah.
And it just that whole thing. So I can see that being very similar in like the setup you're talking about. And if you're in there and there's other bands there, what a great place to start from for your podcast and what you're trying to do. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch them, but I haven't caught them yet. But I'll say this, and then I gotta head out. I gotta do something. There's an actual storage facility similar to where I'm at. They have a little sign out front, the little electric sign where they can put 3-4 messages and they just repeat.
Yep.
3 rotating messages. One of them says bands welcome. I forget what the other one said. And then the third one said something along the lines of, we have rental band space in here.
That's cool.
And I'm just thinking, this is probably only in Nashville where they would have something like that. But that's cool.
Yeah, maybe Seattle or something. I was mentioning it to my co-host on my podcast about that, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Seattle, they do stuff like that here too." Because when you told me about it, I thought it was weird. I was like,
okay.
What?
I thought it was kind of strange, but at the same time, it makes perfect sense because you can go in there, crank it up, do what you're going to do, and you don't really bother anybody because anybody who's there is concentrated on doing what they're going to do, and then they leave. Mm-hmm. Other than people like me in the band, who are going to be there for hours and hours and hours. But, I thought it was unique. So,
well, that's a good spot.
Cool. It definitely is unique.
Well, Chris, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate that.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to be here. Maybe we can hook up again, do it some other time, hopefully soon.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to send you a text, Chris. I got a couple questions. I just updated the website, and I got a couple questions. So.
Okay. All right.
So you message back whenever. It's fine.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, we'll definitely get you back on here soon. I know Bruce was saying like he's got like different themes he wants to do every episode or whatever. But we'll get you back on here soon. I'll make sure I book it in advance enough for you to where you can take off from work and get everything taken care of.
Okay.
Cool stuff, man. Guys. Appreciate you.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
Absolutely.
I'll see you later.
You too.
Bye.
Oh, yeah. So for those of y'all still listen, his website is 2bwb.net. That's the website for Two Beers
Yep.
for the Band podcast. Totally forgot to do it on the live, but yeah.